Julian Assange, still in prison in England, has been in there now for what,
3 years? Basically. Since 2019, which is, I mean,
he's not
time served.
Well, the problem is he's not arrested.
Yeah, he shouldn't even be in.
He's being held as this extradition action is ongoing. He was found by another judge, and I don't know their system of, but a higher court judge, that his initial claims that he couldn't be extradited to the U.S. because of the nature of the prisons there would be inhumane in many respects to send him, and he was a potential suicide risk, and there was potential danger. The judge found that the Home Secretary that those claims by Assange were not enough to prevent the Home Secretary in England to okaying the extradition. But the real issue is, the Department of Justice continues to pursue this case against Assange. The crux of it is whether Assange was, too leaning in to getting Chelsea Manning to provide this cache of material that Chelsea Manning had taken had copied, essentially, including the video of an Apache helicopter, essentially killing medics in Iraq, but also a bunch of State Department cables, et cetera, et cetera. Let's first off, let's just play this clip. We got two clips. Let's play this clip from Joe Scarborough and Claire McCaskill. I would just say this. The reason why this stuck out for me, when these cables were released, when this information was released, I was doing at least once a week on, I can't remember his name now. The sort of libertarian-y type of guy. The guy came over from CNBC.
Like Radigan?
Yes, on Dylan Radigan's show. And literally every time I was on that program, because almost every day, there were news stories pegged around these cables. So they were newsworthy, almost definitionally. And what gets lost we'll go through it.
And they were factual.
Well,
it's what happened.
No, but of course. But what gets lost in this clip, well, we'll go through each one because they are really, really trying to revise the history here.
The politics of this. As a prosecutor, you're given this case, and you've got a guy who's stolen thousands of documents, pages of highly classified national security documents, released them to the world.
Pause it. He did not steal them. He published them. The argument that the Department of Justice is making is that he was too encouraging and too helpful to Chelsea Manning in her getting these documents. They were not highly classified. Many of them were just like top secret because they don't want to embarrass themselves with these cables.
Because they showed the sociopathy of the way that our troops were conducting
well, it's not just the troops. I mean, these are just State Department cables where it's like, I don't like this guy, Bill, or we should have, canopies here, or just other stuff about Western support for dictators or different leaders who are absconding with money, or our awareness of it. And he didn't just dump these out. Go back and Google. Bill Keller wrote a story about the months in which they poured over it, negotiated with WikiLeaks, and the consortium of major publications, including the New York Times, the Guardian, the Washington Post, Le Monde, Der Spiegel. I mean, all of and down in Latin America, like there was at least a dozen major publications that were part of the dissemination of these things. So all of, like, within one sentence. But continue.
Stolen thousands of documents, pages of highly classified national security documents, release them to the world, and in so doing, put the lives of U.S. troops, of people who were working with the United States, allies, collaborators in war zones, in the gravest of danger, under any scenario.
Pause it.
Show me a shred of evidence for that claim. Show me a shred of evidence for that claim.
Show me one specific claim. There was never, ever a specific claim. There was never a specific claim.
Wait, what do you mean?
Never mind. There was no evidence. There was never a specific claim. It was just these broad notions of people in war zones are in danger.
Because what Assange published, again, in concert with these established publications that are not being prosecuted right now by the Biden administration.
You can make a claim. You can make a claim and say, like, oh, this. No, but wait,
we just revealed what they were already doing, and say we were engaging in these conflicts, right? We were engaging in war. There was already an understanding of the brutality, at the very least on the ground, of the way the United States troops were conducting ourselves. This had no connection.
But this argument is that this in some way put at risk people who are providing information to the U.S. government, or there were troop positions or something like this. But there was never, ever, ever from the intel agencies a specific claim of what that danger was. There was just a broad pronouncement that this in some way compromises U.S. security. And there was never, ever anything more specific than that. Not even an instance. Never mind. There was no evidence of the accusation. There was not even a specific accusation. Continue.
With the United States, allies, collaborators in war zones, in the gravest of danger. Under any scenario, you take politics out of it, and this is an open and shut case. This is not the Pentagon Papers. This wasn't Times editors rifling through documents, figuring out what could be released and what couldn't be released, and explaining it.
Actually, it was. Go pull this up. Pull up Keller's thing. Google something like New York Times Keller WikiLeaks. I mean, he wrote an op-ed. Literally.
He says this is not
the New York Times editor.
This is not the Pentagon Papers. You could have Daniel Ellsberg on, who's still alive, doing interviews.
Yes.
Instead of Claire McCaskill.
Right. Saying these are the Pentagon Papers.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure Ellsberg, I don't know his position on this.
Oh, yeah, no. Ellsberg has been defending the release of this
right, exactly.
from day one.
Yep.
Yeah, but one gets a movie made about that. Was that Spielberg too? Man, he's everywhere, right? The Post? I think that was.
Do you have it? Here
this
it
is it.
Yeah.
He is all over the show today, Stephen.
Dealing with Assange and WikiLeaks secrets. This is Bill Keller back in 2011. And it just outlines how they spent months, and the editor of The Guardian, and we got down and they went through this stuff. That's exactly what they did. Exactly what they did. Continue.
This was a guy that got stolen documents and gave it to the world.
This is a pretty simple case. It's very straightforward. And the beauty of a trial, Joe, is that
Ellsberg himself stole the documents. But continue.
You narrow all of the extraneous stuff to the charges that are there against the defendant. And the charges in this case are that he was trying to hack into our military information that protects not just our country, but all the men and women in uniform around the world. This is really serious stuff. Forget about the politics. The fact that both the right and the left don't like Julian Assange or love Julian Assange, depending on the circumstances being talked about, that should tell you all you need to know. This is really a guy who just violated the law. And, you know, I kind of laugh if their fight against extradition is that they're worried about his safety in prison, they really don't have perspective on this. There are lots and lots of people who go to federal prison who have done really worse things than Julien Assange, and they are protected in prison. I don't think he needs to worry about whether or not he'll be safe in prison. This is really just a smokescreen to try to keep him from ever being accountable for the rule of law. You know, we started talking about Trump being accountable.
All right, we don't need to anymore. But I love the idea that she doesn't even realize she doesn't even realize how she undercuts herself. There's a lot of people in our prisons who've done a lot worse. Wait, what?
But look at the precedent. I mean, we can talk about all the angles of this too, but I just want to make this point clear, right? The reason he's concerned about being sent to a maximum security prison in the United States is, one, because he struggled with mental health stuff, and two, because he is a foreign publisher in a different country. And the precedent is currently being set that because he helped publish, in concert with the New York Times, The Guardian, and other publications, information that was damaging to the United States, that now the U.S. is basically trying to extradite a foreign publisher to prosecute in the United States, which is really unprecedented, for like leaking and under the Espionage Act. And the judge who ended up siding with the United States and against Assange here, Judge Timothy Holroyd, said he was satisfied with the package of assurances given by the United States about the conditions of Assange's detention, including a pledge not to hold him in a so-called ADX maximum security prison in Colorado, and that he could be transferred to Australia to serve his sentence if convicted. But they put a caveat in there that if he violates any of their terms, that they could immediately flip on that, which means like they could make up whatever Assange did and still violate the exact terms of what he is being argued in the British courts, because this isn't about that. They're going to penalize him to the degree that they want, and no assurances from the United States should be trusted in this.
I mean, I am most concerned about the precedent. I mean, and to some extent, they've already done it, right? I mean, they've already been able to sort of like establish this precedent. Like if you are an investigative journalist and somebody comes to you and says, I have access to this material, and you say, well, send it to me. Send it to me. Well, I'm not sure how to do it. How to get this? Well, you can use drop. You know, my secure drop lockbox, essentially a digital one. How would I go about using that? Well, you go about using it is here's I can send you a link so that you get information on how to do that. What's the best format for me to download this stuff? Use this type of format. That is when she says he tried to hack into. That's what they're defining it as. And I can tell you that investigative reporters do this type of stuff all the time. Now, they may be a lot more scared to do it now. And that's the biggest issue in my mind. The second issue, of course, is that, like, well, how could you say to, let's say, I don't know, China, like, you can't, we need to extradite one of your reporters who has gotten leaked information from someone on the inside of our systems on, whatever human rights violations we've had. It just sets an incredibly bad precedent.
Also, like, my understanding is that these courts, they're really in part because these countries have rules against extraditing people to countries that are human rights abuses.
Yeah.
And we literally tortured Chelsea Manning, literally tried to kill Julian Assange himself, just like those plans, like in the past few years. So the idea that there'd be any credibility here to extradite them and say, oh yeah, we'll trust your assurances about how you take care of this guy is just insane. I mean, and it says a lot that McCaskill needed to address that in such a even a feeble way that she did.
Of course. Why would Assange be concerned about his safety? I don't know. Chelsea Manning didn't get like the best treatment that McCaskill is talking about there. Of course he would be concerned about his safety. And this is just like a massive blot on the records of both Obama, who, but when it comes to Chelsea Manning in this instance, he did end up releasing her, but kept her in prison for years and years and years, on his record of when it comes to free press, and with Biden, who is continuing to pursue this case against Assange actively.